Hey everyone, Scott Cunningham, aka Scottsy Business. Today we're going to be talking about alternative social media platforms, specifically blockchain integrated ones and free speech advocates. So, why are we doing this? Well, there's been so much censorship, so much issues happening with the traditional social media platforms that we know and use today, and people are looking for alternatives, looking for solutions, looking for the next best thing. There's a lot out there, and there's definitely only a small handful that really stand above the rest, and I believe will last out, and the others may or may not. I'm gonna go through. I've probably reviewed at least 100, and I'm not gonna go through all of them in the video. Probably like only 10. And I've got all the information that's going to be in the description, as well as the blogs that this will be on, and then you can just go through it yourself and do whatever you want to do. But really, at the end of the day, there's only a few that I'm really going to be recommending that you stick with anyways, and the rest you can kind of go at your own discretion. There's so much out there. I've just sort of filtered my way through the noise, and this is what I think is the best. More so, blockchain integrated platforms are really the champions here. But there is some decent platforms that are not blockchain integrated that are still good to use, and I would still highly recommend. So let's get right into it. I've got a lot of different categories that I've created and organized everything into. So I'm gonna just go through a couple examples from each of the categories, and then explain why I put that platform in that category. And essentially, when you go through the blog, you'll see I've just got the name, the reason why I put it there, and then the link. It's pretty brief, but there's a lot to go through, and realistically, you don't need to go through a lot of the bad ones. That was the point of me doing it for you. So here, I'm just going to be going over the main ones, really, and giving you a little bit of an idea of how I've categorized this whole thing. So the first category is informational. You can go and look at that. I've just got a couple other lists that I looked at for finding all of these platforms, as well as I had people suggest them, and I knew about several, and I've just sort of put it all into one comprehensive piece that you can look at and refer to. You can tell other people, hey, like if you're looking for different platforms, go check this out, link them, all that good stuff. Make sure you share this if you find this useful. Anyways, so let's dive in. I'm going to switch it to screen share here and just dive through all these examples here. So if you're really just interested in knowing what is the best, what I recommend, you can look at the blog. It's at the bottom, or you can go probably like halfway through this video when I start to just talk about the ones that I recommend. Right now I'm going to start just doing some of the examples and why I feel that they were that way, so that you can get an idea at least as to how I came to these conclusions and why I feel the way I feel about these different platforms. So the first one we have here is Unity Mix. I've categorized this in the essentially unusable category, which is a large category that probably holds the majority of these platforms that I've reviewed. So Unity Mix looks just like a green version of Facebook, except when you start really looking through it, you'll find that a lot of the posts are actually just ads. A lot of the activity is coming from the same people. There's really not that many people here. The ads are very, like, there's a lot of ads considering the platform is so new, and you wouldn't be expecting that they would have that so early, but I guess they're just doing the same thing as Facebook. So I don't really know how this is different from Facebook, and that's why I'm saying this is unusable. It's not unusable in the sense that, like, there's an issue with the platform or the software, but there's no one really on it right now. It looks like the exact same as Facebook. I'm pretty sure it operates the same way. They've got the same ads, same everything. They don't claim to champion free speech or anything. They're using cookies. They're doing everything. It's literally just an alternate to Facebook, but it's not really a good alternative. So I put this in the essentially unusable category. So there's going to be some that aren't bad, but there's no community here. It's not really much of an alternative because it's the same. That's kind of where I'm going off of. A lot of the unusable ones are like legitimately slow, bad interface, things like that. But there's a handful of them that are like this where I just don't think it's worth including or wasting your time checking out because, again, there's so few people. Even Unity Mix, the brand company account here, has 26 likes. So there's not a lot going on here. Anyways, next one. Bear Shares. It was a Steam alternative, still is a Steam alternative, looks exactly like Steam. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference until you realize that it's really just a scam. They like deleted everything and took everyone's money, and now it looks like they're trying to do it again and pretend like it was like an error or something. But your account got deleted, and all of your money and all your crypto was taken, all of your posts were deleted. Just definitely avoid. I wanted to be optimistic about Steam alternatives, and I'll talk about Waku and Whale Shares soon. But honestly, it's just seeming like people are trying to copy it and capitalize on people's eagerness to like make money. When you see that you're making $100 on a post, but then they don't ever reach the exchange, well, then it's worth nothing. So they're really just taking advantage of people's naivety, and they're getting people to pay with Steam and then just selling the Steam, and they're making a ton of money. And this is just one example of how you can get scammed. Luckily, I didn't buy in. I did have to give them Steam to start my account, of course. It was like 5 Steam, so I'm not really worried. But I feel really bad for anyone who really got caught up in this, believing in this, and lost a lot of money, because I'm sure that's a lot of people. And hopefully this will help bring some awareness. Anyways, moving on. LibertyMe. What was wrong with this one? Let me just quickly consult this. So this is in the category of I couldn't register, whether it was an issue on the website, or not that I couldn't, but I wasn't going to, because they said something like you have to use a Gmail address if you're going to use your email, and they'll require your email, but they say you have to have a Gmail email address. You can't have like a decentralized email. Or they had you must sign up with Google or Facebook or Twitter. You can't sign up in any other way. I included a lot of those in the in this category that's called requires approval, invite only, requires major traditional social accounts, or censorship. So there's also some that are invite only. Brighteon is an example. Although I do like Brighteon. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but it was in one of the better, higher up categories, because they approved me pretty quickly. But again, the fact that you have to get invited is not very good. Luckily, it's only for creators that you would have to be invited. The other platforms, you just needed to be invited to use it at all. So I feel like that wasn't a very ideal choice. There was a few that required approval, and I just never got the chance to get approved. I didn't give them a lot of time, but they're in that category if they required approval, and I just never got the chance to do it because they never approved me. So they, either way, I don't think you're going to want to wait a long time to be approved by some small website when there's all these better options anyways. So what happened with this one was I tried to join, and see, it says there you can sign up using that, and I believe it was like this, and then it said no because I use Proton Mail. Of course. Well, then this is an awful example. That's weird. Last time I tried, it didn't work. I want to see if this still works. Before it was letting me like people's posts and do things. So I mean, okay, yeah. So yeah, this website can be gamed really badly. That was one of the main reasons I threw it there, probably. Because you don't even need to sign up and you can like people's posts. So I don't know how they could properly manage that without that being ridiculously abused. It's kind of awkward that I was able to sign up there, but yeah, I guess I'll move that. But aside from that, I'm pretty sure everything else is in the correct category. If there's an issue, I'll edit it anyways. So this is not in the needs more work. Which one is in the needs more work? Oh yes, on Stellar was in here. So this is the needs more work category. This is a category where I'm going to go back and I'll be re-reviewing all of these to see if they got better in the time since I originally did this review. Like maybe I'll do a follow-up in like 3 months or something like that. And I think that'll serve enough time for it to be them to give them a chance really to improve it, especially since as we go into 2019 you assume that they're probably gonna get some stuff going. This is on Stellar. This was an okay platform. I didn't mind using it, but it was a little restrictive with the way that you posted. Let me just quickly refer to what I wrote originally when I reviewed it. Yeah, I mean, and my biggest complaint was that there was very few users on the platform. So, I mean, if it does start to blow up and there's a lot more people using the platform, it'll definitely have some potential to get better. I also feel like the design would need to be improved a little bit. It feels a little stale, but maybe that's just my opinion. Either way, this is in the needs a little bit more work category. Now, in the category of I wish this was better. So these are platforms that may need a little bit of work, but they're doing so well, and I want them to be better that I wrote I wish these were better. So Tribe. I know a lot of you are going to be upset that I didn't put Tribe in the final recommendation, but you've got to just be honest with yourself. Tribe is hard to use for new people. It's not easy to get started. You have to be approved. When you submit posts, they have to be approved by moderators, so it's kind of centralized. I've been getting a lot of engagement. I've been getting a lot of comments. It's been really great. The community's great. I've been earning a lot of stake. It's been really, really great. I'll say all that. But to get to the point where I was able to do that took a lot of work. I had to message several admins. It was a lot of effort. Probably the most effort I've put into getting set up on any platform I've ever used. I was able to get on here and start using the platform with no issues. But to actually set up an EOS account and get my scatter and connect it and do all that and finally be able to stake my Tribe tokens, there was so much effort involved. It took days because people, like the staff, couldn't even help me for a while, and then eventually I was just trying so many different things and I figured it out myself. So the platform has a lot of potential. If you're not worried about the money, then you could probably be fine just registering and using this platform because the community is great. If you're worried about centralization, this is not for you. It gives you the ability to earn on blockchain and crypto, but there's centralized approval by moderators, and that's just it's a conflict of interest because we're trying to find decentralized alternatives, not centralized alternatives that feel almost more centralized than Facebook because they don't approve my posts, but you're not going to get a post taken down, obviously, after they've already approved it here. Obviously, it's not more centralized than Facebook, but that was probably the biggest issue for me, even though it was really challenging to get set up. After I got set up, it was great. And the biggest issue that I have still with Tribe is just simply that there's centralization. But anyone who's not very blockchain savvy is not going to have a good time with the crypto blockchain side of this platform, though. Unless they can figure out some way to streamline it, it is going to just be a mess for a lot of people. So I don't know how that'll play out. Now, these are in the I wish they were better category as well. I wanted to review these because, well, I used to put Waku and Whale Shares up as my top platforms, maybe a month or two ago. And I've since changed my mind because the growth has really slowed down. There's a lot less interaction on these platforms. It seems that people have started to lose hope because Waku still only has one witness, which is very concerning. They still haven't gotten on an exchange, which they said they were going to before the year ended in 2018. They've had issues with people abusing the sign-up bonus and selling it and making money instead of using it the way it should be used, and they haven't bothered to really address that. They've just sort of gone after the people who have abused, but they haven't really addressed the actual source of the issue. I'm not totally sure how it's going to play out. It was also down for a day or two not that long ago, so I'm not very sure about it anymore. I wouldn't ignore it because it still has potential, but after what happened with Bear Shares, I'm much more hesitant to really dive in and invest any more into these platforms. I've already invested a little bit into Waku and Whale Shares, and now I feel a little foolish. So be very wary yourself should you choose to. Whale Shares, again, very similar to Steam, same setup. Major difference on Whale Shares from Waku to Whale Shares and Steam is that Whale Shares doesn't have reputation. It's very different in that sense, and they take a lot longer to power down, but that's just for now as they slowly inflate and then give you less time. Here, well, I'm explaining this very poorly. If you go to power down, you can max power a certain percentage of your stake. I think it's 20% or something. And then they said by February you can do 40%. I forget what the exact numbers are, but they said as time goes on, you'll be able to get more and more, and it won't be as much of an issue. And I'm going to, because I don't believe in this platform anymore. So what happened is, when this platform first started, they were all talking about how the reason that they needed to make this platform was because of all the issues on Steam, and one of the major issues was bid bots. And what they did here was they made only the witnesses control the bid bots, and then witnesses started creating their own tokens and selling them so people could then buy those tokens from the witness and then trade them to the witness, and then the witness would vote you with Whale Shares. And witnesses were doing this for a while, and then they just stopped, and they screwed a bunch of people over, and their coins lost all their value, and it's basically just a scam. And the biggest issue that I had, because this happened to me, was with FST token. It was one of the it was Fiat Steam, I believe. It was one of the witnesses on Whale Shares, ran by the Goon on Discord, and he sold me a ton of his token, and I used it to get him to upvote my posts. Because, let's face it, from a marketing perspective, bid bots, if they exist, you can't not use them. So I was doing so, but then I ended up getting scammed when he stopped giving the upvotes for the token, and then stopped trading the token, and the token went to very low value, and now I have all this token. It wasn't a lot of money, but it's very interesting to see that that's how the witnesses behave on this platform, and there's no repercussions, and it's totally fine and acceptable. Well, I mean, I don't see how people are going to trust this kind of platform when that's what's happening. So, again, I wouldn't totally discredit Whale Shares because I've still had a decent time with the community, but if that's what the witnesses are doing, then it's really hard to trust the platform as a whole. Maybe people are just unaware because it's so new. They're all so new, and they all have a chance to redeem themselves. But I wish these were better, and they're not. That's just the reality. This is in the category of it's not ready yet, so I can't review. They claim that they're in beta right now according to their roadmap, but I haven't seen anything on that. And they are going to do a grand launching in 2019. Don't know when that'll be, but yeah, I feel like they've been talking about releasing for a long time. They had an alpha, they have a beta, but I haven't seen any of that, so I'm not really sure. Either way, that's just the category that has anything that isn't out, but you might want to take note of. So now, for the platforms, the main event, the platforms that are actually good, and I recommend if you're going to focus on any, you're going to be focusing on these platforms. I'll also quickly talk about BitShoot, because this was I think this is an I wish it was better. Look, BitShoot is good. It's similar to BitTube, it's similar to YouTube, it's a decent replacement. The design could be a little better, and I found there was issues when I was trying to upload things, and it usually ended up fine, but it would take like a day for it to actually show that it was fine, and I wouldn't know if it was fine or not. So, you know, it operates very, very easily, very similarly to YouTube and whatever other, you know, good video hosting applications or blockchain ones. Very similar to DTube if you're familiar with DTube. Again, though, it's just not as good in terms of how fast it is and its features. So I would recommend, I mean, if you want to be very diverse, use BitShoot. If you just want one good alternative, then I'll talk about that momentarily. So now let's get into the real recommendations. The major good platforms that I'm going to recommend, and I'm saying this is what I think is still going to last, this is what I am going to be using, is Steam Mine, Sola, BitTube, Doc.io, DLive, and Gab. So why did I choose these? Well, let's go through each of them. Some of the reasons are more in depth than others. Let's take a look. All right, so this is Steam. If you don't know about Steam, I have tons of videos like talking about this in the past. Really what this is it's a sort of a mix of Facebook and Reddit, and sort of like Medium maybe into one big platform. It's very focused around blogging, but Steam, the actual blockchain, is really just about content. And there's tons of interfaces built on top of Steam, and Steemit, which is what we are on, is just one example of the platforms built on the Steam blockchain. This is mainly focused around blogs. There's DTube, which is mainly focused around video, and you've got everything in between. But we're just going to be looking at Steemit because it's all the same account. It's all the same platform, more or less. It's just different interfaces. So yeah. So I don't really want to get super in depth and tell you everything about the platform and you know, all the features, because this has already been a long video. So instead what I'll do is I'll tell you that the reason that Steam is staying in my highly recommended is because Steam has a huge community. It's still the most valuable social media token coin. You know, it spurred so many other social media platforms from its inception and inspired them and because it was the true first mover. It's like the Bitcoin of social media platforms, except it's not outdated like Bitcoin is. It's still, if the value of the coin goes up, it still has the most potential to make you earn money. And there was people who were actually like making a living off of their earnings from this platform when the coin was doing very well. So there's a lot of potential for legitimate monetization with this platform. A lot of the other platforms that I'm going to be talking about, you know, in these highly recommended ones, they're not geared or really aimed towards making you money from crypto. It's more about the free speech and blockchain integration and things like that. but it's not really about making money. Steam actually has the financial model to potentially help earn you money, though it's worth very low right now. So, be wary, buy it at your own risk, invest at your own risk, use it at your own risk. I'm one of the top 500 users, so it's a little biased, but I want more people to use the platform, obviously. I believe in it. I have been making very, very little money on this platform for a long time. Well, ever since the crash, really. And I've still been using it because I still find value in it. I like the reputation system. I like what it's been and then where it's going. They've fixed a lot of issues. There's still some inherent issues with the way that it's, anarchy, and the way that, people can buy a lot of stake and really buy your influence and your power. But it'll also help the platform because it'll make it all worth more, and other people could buy. And if you bought a lot and then you screwed the platform and it was worth very little, then it would just be detrimental to yourself. So it wouldn't be useful to buy a bunch and then cause problems anyways. I don't know. A lot of the problems, it's probably one of the best models. Regardless of any problems that are found within it, it is probably one of the best blockchain social media platforms, with opportunity to earn and trying to be censorship resistant, and all of the ideals that they're trying to achieve. Steam really sets the bar, and that's why it's in the top. So on the flip side, we have Minds. So Minds is more like Twitter and Facebook, but you've also got, blogging and all that good stuff. It's much more robust than Steam. So a big difference is Steam, you need to somewhat understand Markdown if you're going to be using the basic Steam. There's interfaces that make it easier for you, like busy.org, but there's a lot more technical understanding for Steam. Minds is much more for the average person. It's a lot easier to use. There isn't a huge blockchain component to this. It's not going to earn you money. But they are trying to champion your free speech and only police things that are illegal. They are giving you the opportunity to earn tokens that you can spend on boosting and promoting your content, which does a good job, because I've been on here for close to 8 months, and I've got almost 8,000 subscribers and 1.5 million views, and I'm verified. And a post I just made the other day, almost 100 likes, 52 comments, 23 reminds, which is like a repost, and then 21,570 people have got an impression from it or seen it in their feed. So that's really good. There's a lot of potential there, and this compared to actual Twitter, if I spent money on Twitter, if I spent $50 on Twitter, I wouldn't even get a fraction of these results. So there's a lot of benefit and potential to using these platforms, especially if you're trying to reach people in a blockchain community. But Minds and all these platforms have millions of users now, so there's lots of topics, there's lots of things for you to talk about and dive into. We're seeing more and more influencers and celebrities joining. Joe Rogan's on here. There's tons of people. Stephen Molyneux, Tim Cast, lots and lots of people. I might have butchered Steve's name, but anyways, Minds is a great platform. It has everything that Steam is missing, and that's why they go very well together, because this is the more robust social, but it doesn't have the monetization. So this is kind of the flip side of it. You've got encrypted messenger, you've got groups, blogs, video, everything native hosting. One of my bigger complaints about the video hosting, though, is that the time is limited. I can't remember if it was 10 minutes or 15, but a lot of my videos were too long, so I couldn't upload them here, unfortunately. But Minds is a great service. Sola is like a blend between Instagram and Twitter. It is best utilized and sort of made preferable or streamlined for mobile users. So this will look the best when you view it on your phone, but they come up in little cards, so it's kind of like an Instagram meets Twitter, because you can link things and do everything that you could do with like a blogging type format, but with quick little updates like Twitter. It's kind of like Twitter slash Facebook slash Instagram all into one. And it's done pretty well. It's very similar to mine's in the way that their boosting model works. In a lot of the ways that their system works is very similar to mine's. The bigger issue that I have with Sola is that there are moderators on Sola that will just delete things, and you don't know what they deleted or why they deleted or what the original thing was that they deleted. Usually it's comments, spam comments, things like that. So it makes sense, but you don't know. So there is that central component to Sola that I definitely don't like. But I've done so well on Sola, and there's been just so much engagement, so much community, so much positive results that I have to include it. Even though there's some centralization, it's in the same way that Tribe is so good. People love Tribe, and there is some centralization to it. You know, I wouldn't say just because there's any centralization component that it's unusable. I would just say be wary. And yeah, I mean, I would just be aware of that and not worry too much, because I haven't seen any issues, but always keep that in mind as you navigate and go about your way. Sola works the same way, where you can earn Sol, their token, and then you can spend it on boosting, and it works in a very similar way. They don't have like groups and things like that, but the mobile experience of Sola is a very addictive, kind of like fun, interactive one. So I highly recommend checking Sola out. The good thing about these major ones too is Sola and Minds, they have apps. Steam, there's a bunch of different apps that you can use for Steam. Patrico is probably the best one, or eSteam, but Patrico is probably the best. And now moving on to BitTube. BitTube is the alternative to YouTube. You can earn actually, I don't even know if you can earn. Yeah, you can earn. Okay, I won't bother going with this, but I haven't actually really looked much into the earning component of BitTube. It's just been a very easy process for me to get all of my videos onto BitTube. You're able to import them from YouTube, and it does it all automatically. There's nothing that you need to do. It can take all of the metadata perfectly. Even if you want to continue uploading on YouTube and just importing your videos, it takes literally no time. It's effortless, and it operates very similar to YouTube. It's similar to BitShoot, but it's easier to use. I will admit that I'm not as big of a fan with the design for BitTube versus BitShoot. They could both use a little bit of work with the design, but the ease of use of BitTube, and the features that BitTube has makes me go with BitTube as my, if I had to choose one, I would go with this one. But I'm using BitTube and BitShoot because I believe they're both great alternatives to YouTube. Now, these next two I don't have a lot of experience with, but these are going to be included because I'll explain. So DLive, I don't really do live streams, but I upload my videos here anyways, just because I know they're not really going to get many views. They've gotten very, very few views, but if you're going to use some sort of streaming service, I think DLive is a very, very, very good option to go with. You can use DTube, but if you want a dedicated service that doesn't also require or use your Steam account, you want something completely different, I would check out DLive. It is a great option, and yeah, I just highly recommend it. Just make sure to check it out. It's very easy to use, very easy to get started on. They have a really Twitch-esque design and feel, and it all feels very good, and it works really well, and I highly recommend DLive. And then we have Doc.io. So what doc I and the reason that I wanted to include this, even though I don't really use it a ton, is because I wanted to have alternatives to the major platforms. So if this is like the main blockchain streaming go-to, in my opinion. And then this is the main replacement for LinkedIn. So Doc.io can take your LinkedIn and you can import everything from LinkedIn. Makes your life way easier when you're doing this. You can just download your backup from LinkedIn and import it. And then what Doc.io does is it takes all the other LinkedIn or professional business-esque apps and it connects them all together. So remote is where you can find freelance jobs, remote jobs. Spring is where you can get endorsements and get, recommendations and things like that. Expertise is a messenger. It's kind of like your replacement for Skype. You can connect all these apps. Another big one that I know is Endorse. It's very similar again to LinkedIn. They're going to be connecting that soon. It connects all these apps together to give you a great hub of decentralized apps that are all useful and provide features that you would find on LinkedIn or similar to LinkedIn that you would want on this blockchain business platform. It's not super robust yet, but it's definitely great. You can go and set up your account. You can get it set up like your LinkedIn, and you can start using these other apps. But I really like Endorse. So once Endorse is on here, I'm gonna actually do a full review of the whole platform and all of the sub apps. But until then, I'm gonna sort of wait. What they're sort of doing now is you can get their Doc coin and you can use it to vote on what you want people to, well, not people, but what you want the company to focus on for this platform. So you can see what people have chosen in the past, what do people want, and you can come up with proposals as well for yourself to suggest to them. There's a lot to it, but for the most part, the actual functionality of the LinkedIn style is still very preliminary. The last one is Gab. A lot of you probably know about this because of all the free speech issues and censorship. Gab is kind of just like a decent Twitter alternative, and it doesn't have any blockchain integration. They've talked about potentially doing some, but I highly recommend checking out Gab. It's a great platform. They champion free speech, and it's been great for me when I've used it. And it's always good to help and support free speech platforms, especially ones that have a lot of users and are kind of getting their way along. It's good to support and be a part of them and at least help push something, or not something, but we have to bring all of them up to like a fair opportunity, and then whichever ones do really well will succeed and the others will fall back as people focus on the really good ones, which is generally what happened with social media originally, but we're going to see that more or less happen again with blockchain social. So that's pretty much it. You'll find a lot more of an in-depth analysis and my interpretation of all this on my actual written blog. That's what I spent the most time doing. This video was completely unscripted. I just kind of like went through some of this stuff and wanted to talk about it. Hopefully this isn't too long. I feel like this is at least going to be a half an hour. But let me know in the comments, what did you think about this? Do you find value in this review? Do you agree with everything I've put in the review? Do you disagree? Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And as always, keep keeping on, keep getting that crypto. Scott Cunningham, aka Scottsy Business, signing off. Cheers.